Welcome back to another episode of TableTalk Friday, a D&D podcast. I'm your host, Oswin Alemaker, and I just wanted to tell you about three boys who love to talk about D&D. If you like their style, you should follow them on any podcast service you prefer, and come back every Friday for a new episode. And without any further ado, back to the boys.
Now, I know usually on this show we like to start the episode, and Seth, if you've got a very funny story, I implore you to tell it after I'm through. But have you guys heard about the new Unearthed Arcana?
No.
That just came out today?
Please tell me all about it.
It's new, so it's giant options is what they're calling it, which right out of the gate, I sort of felt some kind of way about it because I thought, well, we already have the Rune Knight. You're saying there's more giant options, and they said yes. Yes, we're playing with more giant options. So the first one that I was skeptical on and then have come completely around on is the Path of the Giant Barbarian. Now, the thing with this subclass is basically, unlike the Rune Knight, who has their runes that activate certain giant abilities, the Path of the Giant Barbarian more or less just embodies a giant with some cool features. So, just like the Rune Knight, they do get large and then eventually huge. But rather than focusing more on like the different unique aspects of all the giants, their thing is throwing things. So that's their like whole build is they get to add their rage damage to thrown weapons, and their thrown weapons get more powerful as they level up. So they can deal an extra D6, and then I believe an extra 2D6 of like any element that they want on their weapon. Like they can infuse it with one of the the giant elements, and then at 10th level they get the ability to just throw whatever they want whenever they want as a bonus action. No grapple check, none of that required. You can grab either a friendly or a foe and chuck them up to 30 feet. Doesn't specify a direction, so you can throw them 30 feet straight up in the air. They have to make a strength saving throw, but again, this is your bonus action. You just do that, and they are gone. This sounds so much fun. And then at 14th level, you get to be huge, and then you can do that to large creatures, and it just sounds like a blast. And your range also increases as a base thing with this class. So imagine a bugbear with a glaive. I believe at their maximum, they get like an extra 10 or 15 feet reach. This giant character has like 20 or 25 feet of reach if you're a bugbear with a glaive.
Wow.
That's friggin' ridiculous. So it seems kind of busted. And there's no stipulation on like once per turn you deal this extra elemental damage either. It's every time you do it. Oh, I should also specify the thrown weapons. They work like Mjolnir. You throw them, they come right back to you.
What? Okay.
What if it's your
cool.
friend? Will he come back?
No.
Oh, that'd be so cool.
I'm a fan.
But yeah, it seems really fun. The other options were kind of cool too. There's the Circle of the Primeval Druid, which is nothing like giants, but it's like prehistoric creatures basically. They get a companion, sort of like a Beastmaster Ranger or a Circle of the Wildfire Druid, where they get like they don't specify what it has to be, but I'm thinking dinosaurs, and they basically level up and get more powerful with you. You can use a wild shape to summon this thing. It's neat, but it doesn't seem as powerful as Circle of Wildfire or as flavorful, so I probably wouldn't ever use it, but it's neat. And then there's the Runecrafter Wizard, which feels like it should be an artificer, but basically they can infuse runes onto certain items, I believe, and then they get certain special effects that come off of that. So they can do things like give you extra temporary hit points or like give allies temporary hit points. There's one feature that's really cool where they, when they cast a spell, they can make any creature within 30 feet of them. All other creatures have a plus bonus to hit them based on the spell level used. So it goes up, and it's rounded up, actually. So like at a first level spell, you get a plus. Everyone gets a +1 bonus. At a third level spell, it's a +2. All the way up. If you use a 9th level spell slot, everyone gets a +5 bonus on attack rolls versus this creature.
Ooh.
That's cool.
Okay.
I'm a fan of any new wizard subclass that comes out.
I'm a fan of everything you just said, to be perfectly honest. The only thing I'm disappointed about is you started talking about giants right off the bat, and I was thinking, oh, there's going to be cool new sub-variations of frost giants coming at me. I get to fight these cool new creatures. Then we went into classes.
No. Well, that's not what they do in Unearthed
Unearthed Arcana is all about
I know, but
playtest
that's
material.
immediately what I was thinking of. I always think of the frost giants, just how cool they are, how primal. And I was hoping for one of those like Frostwalker, Dreamwalker Stone guys, something like that.
Well, so the other thing that they have in this Unearthed Arcana is new feats. And none of them were all that powerful, but they do have like a different. It's sort of like the Dragon's Blessing from Fizbin's for each of the giants. So it's like I forget exactly what they call it, but it's Essence of Frost Giant. Basically, you get like cold resistance, and then another cool thing you can do. And then there's like a Rune Crafter light like set of feats. So there's like the Adept, or the beginner and then adept version that you can take as you level up. They seem kind of weak though. Honestly, all the feats I wasn't super impressed by, but there was one. It's and again I forget the wording of the name, but it's basically you're small, but you're still good at not being messed with by larger creatures. You get advantage on any checks to not be moved or knocked prone, and you get powerful build naturally on any race. So you count as one size larger for pushing and lifting things, and one other thing, but none of it grabbed me as much as just the barbarian that throws things. I really like that.
Barbarian that throws things is very, very cool. I'm sure they'll probably rebalance the bonus action ability.
Oh, I'm sure.
In the future. So obviously at our table for long-term campaigns, we don't use Unearthed Arcana stuff, but I mean it would be fun to play test it in like a one-off or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, I'm interested to see where this is going. Like, what book do they have coming out where this sort of content fits?
Right. It seems like a lot of like prehistoric or like old lore. So, primevals and giants, things like that. I mean, maybe we're going to get like a... I don't know how to describe it.
Time traveling
book, I guess,
That would be pretty cool.
I was going to say, that'll be pretty
cool.
cool.
I want a reason to go fight dinosaurs. I mean, come on. Just any reason at all is fine. And if I have to be a Path of the Yeet barbarian to do it, I'm okay with that.
Path of the Yeet.
I mean, that's pretty much what it is. You're eating things, right?
All right, guys. Welcome to Table Talk Friday. On this week's episode, we're going to be going through part 2 of our Mordenkainen Presents Monsters of the Multiverse review. My name is Seth Pittman, and I'm here with the boys, Zach Carvon and Andrew Romano. And I've been sick for 3 days, guys, and I'm hating it because I have to be up at 4 a.m. to go to work tomorrow, and I really just hope I have the energy.
You will. I'll give you advantage on your check to wake up.
Well, I will be drinking a Ghost energy drink when I head out. Not sponsored.
Well, then you're all set.
Yeah, exactly. So, first of all, how are you boys doing? And then we'll get into what's in this bestiary in part 2.
Well, I'm just really excited to get into this because I was just so let down that we couldn't talk about the bestiary of this book because I have so many interesting thoughts about it. This is definitely my least favorite part of the 2 chapters in Mordenkainen Presents Monsters of the Multiverse, but I think it brings up some interesting topics.
No, I feel like it's pretty cool. It's got some good stuff in there. I'm feeling hyped up. I took an entire sip of my Swedish Fish energy drink before I got here, so I'm feeling jacked up for the next few hours, ready to go.
Ooh, also Ghost Branded not sponsored?
Oh, yeah, totally not sponsored, but Swedish Fish really good. Get those.
Yeah, no, it was a good energy drink. I gotta say, Ghost does a really good job with those, like, artificial candy flavors, I will say. They did a Sour Patch Kids flavor, too, that I really liked.
So here's my thing. I love Swedish Fish. The idea of a Swedish Fish energy drink, like I'm imagining just dip a Swedish Fish in Red Bull and drink it, that sounds horrible.
No, it just tastes, it's like liquid Swedish Fish.
So I agree, but here's the problem, though. Anything that tastes like Swedish Fish or another candy snack, just makes me want the actual snack more.
See, I'm not a candy person, but I love candy-flavored energy drinks. I'm not like a sit-down-and-eat candy person. What I hate is I've had chocolate-flavored energy drinks before, and that makes me want to gag.
Ooh, I don't know if
Remember I had that whole lot of chocolata bang that one time?
Whole lot of chocolate.
That's what it was. That's what it's called. And it was repulsive. I'll say it was repulsive. I would not drink it again. I have tried every Bang flavor that I've seen. Every time they come out with a new one, I buy it. You know why? Because I am a servant to capitalism. And every time I see a new colorful label, I go, that's for me.
You gotta try them all. We had the Skittle one not too long ago. The Skittle one was pretty
Well,
good.
and that's the mistake I made by going into Publix. I walked into Publix and they have a whole section of energy drinks, and I go, there's so many flavors here that I haven't tried. They had Starburst C4 flavors. They had the orange cream, like the orange creamsicle ghost flavors, and I was like, oh, I'm just going to buy like 6 of these while I'm here.
See, but again, wouldn't you rather have an orange creamsicle right after you drink that?
I mean, yeah, I would rather have an actual orange creamsicle, but guess what? This is a 0-calorie canned energy drink with a ton of caffeine in it.
Yeah, but I want more
And
calories in
L-carnitine.
my creamsicle.
For my androgen receptors.
Yeah, you feel like your receptors really vibing right now?
Yeah, my receptors get bulgy. You know what I mean?
So anyway, Mordenkainen presents Monsters of the Multiverse, the Bestiary. I'm just going to jump into everything that I have wrong with this book. So,
Yeah, no, please. Go ahead.
first of all, before we even talk about content, I just want to talk about format because it confuses me. In all the other, the Monster Manual, Volos, Mordenkainen's, they had just, logical sections. They broke down the groupings of monsters.
Alphabetical by monster type.
Yeah, exactly. So this book is completely alphabetical, which you think would be a good idea, but not when it separates different monsters of the same type.
Yeah, until you realize that the Annis Hag and the Bear Hag are on different pages.
Exactly. And all the devils, all the demons, they're separated completely, just sort of like agnostically from the grouping. Like, I don't know what that salamander-looking devil is, but if I was in Volos, I'd just go to the devil section and say, oh, that's a devil? Now, in Monsters of the Multiverse, I need to have an encyclopedic knowledge of all the monster names to know what I'm looking for.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I like how it is in the other books where it is alphabetical by monster type. So if I'm looking for demons, I go to D. If I'm looking for dragons, I go to D. If I'm looking for beholders, I go to B.
Absolutely. That's my smallest gripe. It's just something I've been thinking about this whole time, and I needed to say it because I've never heard anyone else say it. Anyway, the main changes. So Mordenkainen's Monsters of the Multiverse has all the same monsters, almost, from Volo's Guide to Monsters and Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes. I don't think that this was very well advertised as this book was coming out. It sort of seemed like, there were a bunch of new monsters, and that's not really the case. It's more a compilation of all the monsters from those two books put into one, which is a convenient package, but there are significant changes to a lot of the monsters. One of the first ones, and I think probably the biggest one that most people have been talking about, is the change to spellcasting. So, in older books, the Monster Manual, Volo's, Mordenkainen's, all those books, spellcaster monsters work very much in the same way that a player spellcaster might, where they have spell slots and they can cast their spells, and usually, say if you're fighting an archmage or a lich, they might have like one or two other features, but the pretty much everything that comes from their monster ability comes from their ability to cast spells, and then other creatures as well will have other things with spellcasting layered on top. Now, this did pose a problem for some players, and I know a lot of people are excited about this change because keeping track of a bunch of different spells and spell slots without like a convenient place to write it down can be difficult, but I think it's very rewarding for a player to say, oh, I've seen that spell before, and like know what it does. I think it's kind of cool to have that one-to-one sort of interaction for the player and the monster, and especially for like monster or enemy spellcasters who are just people. It makes sense that they'd be casting the same sort of magic that you are. What this book has done is taken most of that away. Now all monster spellcasters will have one or two, a very abbreviated list of the spells that they had before that they can cast once or twice per day. There's no more mention of spell slots, which I'm kind of okay with. That doesn't bug me too much. But what we've replaced the full spell list with is just a spell attack. So for say a wizard, the name is Arcane Burst, or it might be something similar for a different kind of monster, but it's a melee or ranged spell attack, and then it does X amount of damage just based on the spell type. And usually the damage that this does is actually pretty significant. And what's really the difficult caveat here is there's nothing in here that says it is a spell. And that, rules as written removes the ability to counterspell these sort of spells.
Right.
Which sort of, people have been saying for a long time that counterspells, an overpowered spell, you always need to take it. But at the same time, now, I don't know anyone who would want to take counterspell. If every enemy wizard is going to be casting something that can't be counterspelled.
Right. I kind of lie in the same place on this, where I as our most frequent DM, would allow you to counterspell an arcane burst. But honestly, I would still use like an archmage stat block or something for like my big bad, or like a big bad stat block, and then only use these wizard stat block, these like different wizard stat blocks for like apprentices or ads that you guys don't care about. Like, okay, they're doing these flavored by like class arcane bursts that are going off, and I just count them as like cantrips. I'm not sure exactly how I feel about it. Just because I think it makes it very simple on the DM side, which is nice. But yeah, it doesn't give you that 1-to-1. Like what you were talking about. I'm not gonna like bash the idea that there are these basic attacks that every single caster can kind of have going on for them, as long as we also agree that, okay, this is just a reflavored cantrip of this like origin. Like, this is just a firebolt that's different.
Right. So inherently, I don't have a problem with there being, certain types of magic that only monsters can cast. I think that makes sense. Like, if you throw a Lich at me, even if the Lich has this special magic attack that can't be counterspelled, I think that's fine. It's a Lich. It's this otherworldly creature with, just this exceptional magical power. I think that's fair. An apprentice wizard should not have this spell.
Right.
Which it does in this book.
Yeah, an apprentice wizard, everything they do should be able to be counterspelled, and it shouldn't be more powerful than a firebolt.
Which it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's just a confusing, turn of events that led this here. I don't necessarily have a problem with the fact that it can be melee or ranged. I think that's kind of cool to imagine like a martial wizard who does like a, they push you with their cantrip, or like they punch you or whatever. I think that's cool.
Right, but I want to see this on a player side too. If they're going to give this to enemies, I would like to see what like a player character wizard could do with a melee spell attack like that, Yeah,
for sure. And just the way that spells are built, it makes sense that there's sort of a structure to it. So if this is a spell casting only monster, the way that you get to it is by fighting it in melee. All of a sudden, it's got disadvantage on all its ranged attacks. It's got to come out with, a Dimension Door or a Misty Step or, XYZ. It seems like we're oversimplifying it to where if I'm a new DM and I don't, understand how spellcasters might work, this might turn into just like a very boring, by the books, we hit it until it's dead. It hits us until we're dead. But what spellcasters can do in the right context, with a talented DM, is just create. You could create an amazing combat experience that your players will remember forever, just by spell choice. And I think that we're kind of stepping away from that, and that's why I don't see myself using these all too often. I think, like you said, they can be useful for little ads, side enemy creatures, but definitely not like a big bad. Like, I don't want to fight a friggin' Skull Lord who just shoots an arcane burst. I think that's lame.
No, I agree. I think it's overall generally easier, which I think is great, especially for how complicated the game's getting. It's nice to have some features that are making it easier on the DM. But what really, really bugs me, especially from the viewpoint of someone who plays a wizard, is I love the idea that anything that happens magically in the game, any spell that is cast by a lich or something, I one day can achieve that. I can copy that in my spellbook, because I could do anything I want. I'm a wizard. I'm studious, and as long as I sit here long enough, anything I want to do, it can be mine, right? But then, now it's just more restrictive, because that's not the case. I can't arcane burst. I can't do these things. And I understand, the dragons are going to have some special spell, or some crazy archmage is going to have some special thing that he created. That's totally fine. That's flavor. But the idea that I'm a level 12 divination wizard and I can't arcane burst, that bugs me.
Right, and so I think it's confusing for like a world building lore perspective based on our current understanding. I don't think that this doesn't work, period, like for a different RPG, but I think just built into the base collective understanding of sort of how D&D works, Magic has rules, and that's interesting because if you know the rules of Magic, then you know how to break them. And I think that's there's when you have creatures that are constantly operating outside of the rules. Well, no, this is different. It gets a little it's just not as interesting to me.
The water gets muddy.
Yeah, exactly. So overall, I know I've just talked so much shit on this. I don't think that this is the worst change possible, but I'm just not excited to see all the Monster Manual creatures have the same thing done to them,
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, to move on from that, I think that we should probably go over our thoughts just on the bestiary as a whole, because looking at some of these stat blocks, I mean, I've seen a lot of these in Volos. I've read through the entirety of Volos in the past, so I know a lot of these creatures that are in here. I have not gone through all of Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes, sadly, but specifically things like the giants, like the Fire Giant Dreadnought, the Stone Giant Dreamwalkers, those enemies have been brought over here. I think they brought pretty much every creature over from Volos, with a little bit of rebalancing changes, and I don't really have much to say on that. Like, it's just rewording of a couple of things here and there. But honestly, it just feels weird to me that I guess it's in the way that the book was advertised, but getting this is just very much like, okay, this is great for a new DM who's not going to buy the other two books. Specifically for me, I like having everything in one place, and that's really cool. Did I really need to buy this book? No, but I was going to, because we have a podcast about D&D, and I like D&D a lot. So I guess what I'm trying to say is it makes a lot of sense that this came in a bundle. For starters, it makes a lot of sense that this came with the Player's Handbook, Tasha's, and then this, because you're getting basically all the materials you would need for a full D&D campaign just off of that one bundle. But if you're a DM who already has a ton of D&D books, not really a reason for you to buy it.
Right. So, I mean, if we're going off of the bestiary alone, obviously we've already sung the praises of all the character race options that were added.
Yes,
those are
super
awesome.
Glad that all of those are in here, and it's totally worth it for that.
But yeah, I agree. I think it's questionable. So I will add a clarifying statement to what you just said, though. They did have almost every monster from Volo's and Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes.
You said they were missing one, right?
So from Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes, they are missing the Abyssal Wretch, which is it's a companion monster to the Rudderkin, which Rudderkin are like this demonic, I believe, or devilish creature. They can kill you, and if you are killed by one of these, they can turn you into an Abyssal Wretch. But the Abyssal Wretch stat block in and of itself is very uninteresting and very, it's basically just a Dretch. So I believe they've just removed the part about the Abyssal Wretch and replaced it with a Dretch, which I think makes perfect sense. I don't have a problem with that. What I do have a problem with, my absolute favorite monsters from Volo's Guide to Monsters. Nothing else from this book has been removed. And, it's great that everything else is in here, but it seems like this was a targeted attack. Boys, what is my favorite race in D&D?
A full-on orc. Full orc.
Well, no,
Warforged.
I actually love half-orcs, but the orcs, I love orcs. Orcs are, fantastic, and my favorite, probably my favorite monsters in general. I just love the flavorful orcs that they added in Volo's Guide to Monsters.
They were really cool.
And they were removed, except for the Tanaruk, which is a fiend, but it's like a fiendish demon-orc hybrid. Awesome monster, I love it. It's still here, but all the others... allow me to grab my book from the floor here so I can explain. Orc Blade of Ilnaville, Orc Claw of Luthic, friggin' Orc Hand of Utris, Orc Nurtured One of Utris, Orc Red Fang of Shargas. All of them gone. And so I can see why that these were removed. It seems there's sort of a trajectory towards no monsters culture, or no creature that we classify as a humanoid more broadly. None of those creatures should be like a cultural monolith. All different races should have different styles based on wherever they are in the world. I think that's fine. But why can't these sorts of orcs exist in your world if you want to have them there? So here's my problem. There's just so much interesting lore behind like the orc pantheon and how these creatures exist, like in an orc society, that it's really a shame to lose them. Even not just for the lore perspective, but because this makes an orc encounter very interesting, because they've got orc spellcasters, and the orc nurtured one of Utris. It's like a friggin' diseased pustule ball that you kill it and it explodes in disease. And then there's the orc hand of Utris, who friggin' they're like the doctors within the orc society, and they're called the white hand of Utris because they take like the hands of creatures that they've killed and like wear them as gloves. For medical purposes, so that they're clean.
Is that how that works, though?
Yeah, well, I mean that's how they work.
That's
it.
cool.
Yeah, and they're like clerics, so they've got shit like guidance, mending, blindness, deafness, bane, detect magic, inflict wounds.
Kind of makes me think of like a shaman.
Yeah, for sure. And then they've got the claw of Luthik, which is just like the den mother, basically. She's got inherent traits that are like bear-like, because of her devotion to Luthik, the orc mother goddess, basically. And they also have just a bunch of cool cleric spells, like Guiding Bolt and Cure Wounds, Bestow Curse. All interesting things to find in an orc lair. I just think and these don't even have to necessarily be flavored, to the orc pantheon if we want to do away with that entirely. We could have just said, rename them and still keep them present. And also, I will say, it's just a little confusing to remove these now, because I know you guys don't keep up with all the latest D&D miniatures that are coming out. But Icons of the Realms just released their Orc Warband, which features like all these guys. But they're not in this book.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm disappointed that they're gone as well. I can't say that I care as much as you do about it, because I didn't go over those, and I know you have an affinity for these orcs, and like if they had removed the giants, well, then I might be on another level of angry. But they didn't do that, so I'm not missing much. But yes, I am upset that they're not in here at all.
I'm genuinely curious what they removed, or what they put in to have to remove those very few things that they put in Volos and whatnot. What was so good that they had put in the new book that they had to break their compilation advertisement of this book?
Well, I'll tell you, because there are a few monsters that are new in this book that I didn't realize last week when we were talking about it, but allow me to enlighten you.
Sure, please.
Okay.
So rather than the Orc Blade of Ilnivel, Orc Claw of Luthik, these pretty, cool, fierce monsters to fight, we do have the Dolphin Delighter.
Is that what it's called?
Yep.
It's look me in the face, Zach. It's called the Dolphin Delighter.
Yeah. So what do you think a Dolphin Delighter does?
I'm flipping in the page right now.
Is it like a dolphin eater? Does it eat dolphins? Maybe.
No. It's a good, or typically chaotic good fey dolphin. It's a dolphin that lives and talks. And let me just read you the short.
Oh, it's so cute.
Yeah, so it's pink. It's got cute little runes on its face. Honestly, it's a neat monster. I don't actually have a problem with the Dolphin Delighter. I just think that was a funny bit. But they in the excuse me, in the Feywild, Dolphin Delighters brighten the moods of those who travel the seas of the domains of delight. Telepathically singing sea shanties, these dolphins leap and teleport through the luminous waters of the fairy and material plane. And they are faithful allies to any who battle the forces of gloom and brutality under the waves. Dolphin Delighters often accompany groups of sea elves, tritons, turtles, as guardians and friends.
This is a real creature, Drew. I'm looking at see, it's right here.
They're like protectors of the deep, just these pink dolphins that swim around protecting people from darkness.
Yeah, I mean they're like Aquaman's friends.
That's awful. I really hate that compared to all the really cool
Are there any other new
champions of
creatures,
the
Zach?
orcs.
There are, and let me tell you. So, name something in D&D that just comes up all the time that you really wish there was a stat block for that you just didn't have before. I'll wait.
Yeah, so there was
I was thinking
a
Spider-Man, but I don't
bartender.
think it's the right answer.
I always need a good bartender stat block.
Nope. No, it's not that. So if your answer was a cow that lives underground, I've got you covered.
Oh yeah, we have the bovine stat blocks, right?
Yeah. So in Volos, they had a couple different stat blocks for cows. So they had the oryx, which is like a big cow, and then they had the ox, which is an ox. But they added both the deep rothe, which is a underdark cow. It's smaller than a regular cow, and it lives in the Underdark, and that's all the and it can also cast dancing lights, but it can also see. So I'm not sure why it needs to do that, but it's got dark vision. Anyway, it's a cow that lives underground. I think that's kind of neat. Just if you're thinking about an Underdark campaign, they got to eat something.
So I think kind of what we're getting at here is that, yeah, this book overall, especially the bestiary section, the racial section, love it. Think that it was completely necessary to include in that bundle, and I think it's a great supplement to pick up if you're playing a campaign where your players can kind of be whatever they want. As for the bestiary, it is just same creatures we've seen in Volos and Tome of Foes, and a couple new side stat blocks, the Dolphin Delighter for one, and then this underground cow.
Well, yes, and also the stench cow. Don't forget the stench cow.
Well, yeah, I wasn't even going to mention the stench cow, the smelly cow.
Yeah, apparently it's local to the lower planes, so like hell, the abyss. But yeah, it's a stinky cow.
Yeah, so
who's sitting around this table, right? Sitting around this table.
I like to think it's just Chris Perkins.
Is it just Chris? Perkins?
He's just by himself, and he's like, Dolphin Delighter.
Well, I feel like maybe they wanted to include this in Wild Beyond the Witchlight, but they just didn't have like a C. Well, I was gonna say a C section, but they didn't have a C section to include the dolphin in, so they threw it in here. I don't have a problem with it. I think it's cute, but it's just an interesting choice.
I don't have a problem with it. I can't imagine how many other opportunities or possibilities there were for cool world-ending creatures or like new types of dragons or giants if they want to do their giant thing. But let's just get like a deep cow or a cow that smells or a dolphin that swims around and looks cute.
Right. Monsters of the Multiverse. They come from all... I mean, they actually do. Stench cows are only native to the lower planes, so there's that. But,
See, now we have to have space cows in Spelljammer. There have to be cows just with little like bowls over their head that are floating around aimlessly.
I'm sure we can make that happen. So yeah, no, I was trying to say earlier, I think we can kind of get a feel for what's in this book, and I'm not going to say I'm disappointed in the bestiary, but I'm disappointed in the bestiary just because I didn't get anything that spurred my creativity at all. Like, I think the way that the creatures were presented in Volos are much better suited to how they were presented in Volos. You get entire pages and pages of lore telling you about these creatures, like a full guide, leading you into reading these stat blocks and being like, oh, this is like how I could use these creatures. In here, I'm just getting stat blocks thrown in my face. Like, I don't get any, like, other than like the little blurbs in here, I'm not getting much information on these creatures outside of like the one paragraph, which is fine. That's how other bestiaries have been in the past too, but at the same time, Monsters of the Multiverse, the way it's titled, the way it looks, I didn't think we were just getting two bestiaries mashed into one. You know what I mean?
For sure. And not only that, but the descriptions that they have in here are reduced from the originals, from the other books, to take out like lore-specific things that might make you feel one way or the other about some of these monsters. And I feel like the more content, the better. I'm a smart person. As a dungeon master, I can make the
brag
call.
about it, Zach. You're a smart person.
Of course, but I've got the creative ability to say, oh well, maybe this creature isn't like that. I've decided, but
Yeah.
but it's nice to have more, just more information to jump off of.
Yeah, no, exactly.
I agree, and I don't think that way about things like elves or humans or dragonborn, because those are things that I'm going to be playing and that I'm going to put my own spin and flavor in. But as far as the monsters that I'm going to be choosing to end my campaign with or to entice my players into a cool trap, I want to know all about them. I want to know what they do, where do they live, what do they eat, That's the fun part.
Yeah, do some of the work for me.
Yeah.
How about, like if I want to go through and, do all the work myself, I'd be more than happy to. But it's a book that I paid for. You can give me something.
Speaking of books you paid for, we mentioned this was part of a bundle and maybe better for some newer DMs, right? What did we say was into the player handbook, Tasha's, and this? Is that correct?
So it's actually actually I'm just being that guy today. It's Xanathar's Guide, Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, and this book.
Oh, okay. So it's like an expansion bundle. See, in my head, it was like a starter bundle.
No, it is. It's like an expansion, basically.
So yeah, I mean, if you're already DMing, say you've already got a player's handbook and a monster manual, it's kind of what they're expecting, and then you're picking up this bundle on top of that of like, hey, here's all the expanded stuff you need, right?
Yeah, I mean, more or less. And I'd say this isn't like a bad option for that because, like, you think of the trinity of the original suite of books: Player's Handbook, Monster Manual, Dungeon Master's Guide. It makes sense. Okay, well, we've got Xanathar's and Tasha's, which both sort of encapsulate the Player's Handbook and Dungeon Master's Guide with the options that they include in there. And then we've got something a companion piece to the Monster Manual, this book.
And personally, I never felt like the Dungeon Master's Guide was like necessary. Like, I mean, if you need help starting as a first-time DM, sure. But I think it only helps that much whenever you've never played for a DM before or something. Because I read bits and pieces of the Dungeon Master's Guide, but I can't really say that I've taken time to read through it.
Yeah, so there are a lot of archaic things that are thrown in there that have been, revised either through errata to the original book or through Xanathar's Guide or even some stuff in Tasha's. They've fleshed out more, things like traps and poisons and prices for magic items and crafting magic items. But the Dungeon Master's Guide does do one thing right, and that's it gives you, well, I don't even know where to start about ruling this weird edge case. Let me see if there's anything in this expanded list of rules, like just a nugget of, oh, you could do something like this. Say no more.
See, it just comes down to me just Googling that the second, like if we come up with anything and I'm like, 1 second, guys, I'm going to look it up. I'll just go on Google and be like, blah, 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 rule in D&D, and then it pops up with like a Reddit thread or like the actual rule from the Dungeon Master's Guide. That's just how it always comes up.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. And the one other thing that I'll say about the Dungeon Master's Guide that I do appreciate, they do just outline some basic ideas for, all right, here's how to make something yourself, like a homebrew thing, and not break the game. It seems like common knowledge, but surprisingly, like if you look through some of the shit on D&D Beyond, it's clear that they haven't read the Dungeon Master's Guide because there's a way to make something fun without making it incredibly overpowered.
I think what's interesting is we're talking about all these other books, right? And when you're thinking about what book you're going to buy in D&D, there's 2 routes, right? You have the route of what's the bare bones necessities that I need to play, right? Or what expansions will really give me some new stuff to play because I've been playing for 3, 4, 5 plus years, right? And this book is confusing to me because it doesn't really fit either of those. Because if you're going for bare bones, I would say get the Monster Manual. And if you want an expansion, if you've been playing for this long, you have Volos, you have Mordenkainens. So where does this book really fit in?
What I would say is if you don't already have Volos and Mordenkainens, then this is perfect to pick up instead. Only because you're going to get all the monsters from that and the races. The races are the real beauty of this book, looking in there and getting this I feel like they're very well balanced. The new abilities are really cool with all of these races. You're getting so much more for player character building out of this book than I think you bargained for in the Bestiary. As far as the Bestiary goes, it's kind of hit or miss. You should have the Monster Manual as well. Like, I don't think you can go off of just Monsters of the Multiverse. So you're going to need the original monster manual. But, yeah, that's kind of all I got to say. It is somewhere in the middle because what if you do own Volos already? So now you're just getting the Tome of Foes creatures in here too, which for the, $30 price tag? I mean, it's kind of a steal for that.
Well, yeah, and that's my thought too. Like, get it on Amazon. It's already $30 on there. Honestly, I think it's a no-brainer if you have $30, and even if you have the other books, Volos and Mordenkainens, the race options I think are worth $30. You're going to get a lot of mileage out of those.
Yeah.
But don't buy this from a game store at full price, unless you want to support your local game store. Support your local game store, but buy something else from them. Get some minis.
Yeah.
Get some paint.
So final thoughts, everybody. Mordenkainen presents Monsters of the Multiverse. I'm going to give the whole book as a whole, I'll put it at a B- for me. Because I really love the races. I think they're great. Some very creative options, and we got to support the elves, boys. So loving those bonus action Misty Step abilities. So B- for me. And just because the Bestiary just doesn't live up to what I want out of it, I've already seen most of these creatures.
Agreed. I think last episode I gave it a B- overall. I would agree. B-.
I see. I'm really on the fence here because I kind of want to give it a B, but I also kind of want to give it like a C+. Because I really feel like this is probably one of my least favorite. And I hate to poop on it so much because it actually does have some good content.
It's your opinion.
But I just feel like all the other books are more interesting, more fun. They have more lore. I don't know. I think I'm going to give it a C+.
Okay. And with that, this has been our review of Mordenkainen Presents Monsters of the Multiverse, Part 2, The Bestiary. If you would like to follow Table Talk Friday anywhere else, you can find us on Twitter at Table Talk Friday and TikTok at Table Talk Friday. We've been posting clips all over the place. Hopefully you checked them out, followed us on those platforms, and have been supporting us through that. Otherwise, you can email us at TableTalkFriday, TableTalkFriday@gmail.com with any questions, comments, concerns. Tell us what you thought of Mordenkainen Presents Monsters of the Multiverse. And with that, multiversal character, multiversal traveler, take us out.
Oh, it is I, the Dolphin Delighter, and I hope you have a good day.
Thank you for listening to Table Talk Friday, a D&D podcast. For more fun conversations like this, follow the boys on whatever podcast service you prefer, and come back every Friday for another upload. And if you have your own inquiries, you can find them at TableTalkFriday@gmail.com. Thank you.